Alright, my male and female gamers. What is going on? It's Tryhard Casual, back with the Should You Buy It episode. For the uninitiated out there, the Should You Buy It series is about talking about niche gear, stuff you might be thinking about buying. I'll just kind of go over it top to bottom, give you my opinion on it, and then pretty much on your own you can decide if it's something you want to buy. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Imbued Heart. I was grinding out a little bit of Zora, I bought the heart, did some research on it, and I just want to talk about it, so here we are. Just for you guys, I'll throw down my best screen transition and we can start talking about this thing. So compared to a lot of the other items I've actually talked about on this series, the Imbued Heart is pretty straightforward. It just gives you a magic boost. Besides using an overload in a raid, this is going to be the best one you can obtain. The boost you do get from it is going to be determined by your base magic level, so the higher your magic level is, the more of a boost you'll get. If you wanted to try and get one for yourself, it can only drop from superior Slayer monsters whenever you're killing something on a task. And you have to unlock the superiors from the Slayer Master too, so that's just a little bit of an extra layer there. I mean, it's super rare though, a lot of people don't see one on their way to 99 Slayer. So that's definitely a factor to why it costs so much. So before I tell you where you might want to use it, let me tell you why you would want to use it in those situations. I promise it'll make sense. So let me tell you guys something. Magic skill? It's a little weird, it doesn't always behave the way you'd think. A higher magic level doesn't necessarily mean you're going to deal more damage. For example, if you're using like a surge spell, a wave spell, the basic elemental spells, you will not have an increased max hit because of your magic level. It's only going to help your accuracy, and that's a very marginal difference. It almost makes no difference when it comes to DPS. There is actually a category of magic weapons that do get a max hit increase from your magic level. They're referred to as powered staves. Most notably the Trident. So when you're using one of these weapons, a higher magic level helps a lot with DPS. It'll increase your max hit, and overall it makes a big difference. Quick side note here, when I was doing some research on the Volatile Orb and the Eldritch Orb, it stated that their special attack scales off of a player's magic level, but I didn't see anything specifically about it being boosted past 99, so I'm not sure if it works with the Imbued Heart. I don't think it does, because I'm too poor to buy it and test it out. Secondly, when we're talking about the magic skill, the magic damage you take is going to be reduced more heavily by your magic level than it is just defense. It's not the same as when you take a melee attack. So really the main benefit of the Imbued Heart is an increased offense with some max hits, but it also helps a little bit with defense when you're taking magic damage, just a little bit. So how does this play into where you're going to use it? The obvious thing to say is wherever you're using a powered staff, it's going to be worth the inventory slot to take an Imbued Heart. There's a lot of bosses for that. We have Kraken, I'm at Zora, that's where I've been using it, Barrows, I mean there's a ton of places honestly, there's a lot of places you can get use out of this. Let me just make a little comparison here, let me show you guys how powerful this thing is. So I'm going to throw up my setup for Zora, what I've been bringing for my runs. Nothing too out of the ordinary, not the best gear possible, just what I have access to right now. This is what the DPS is looking like, these are my numbers I've been getting. I think one of the biggest upgrades you can get beyond what I have right now is having the Ancestral top and bottom. So it's a lot more expensive. Let me put it up on the other side. If I had to choose between the two, the Imbued Heart or the Ancestral top and bottom, I mean there's a big cash difference between them, definitely. If you did go with the Ancestral stuff, and you're not boosted with the Imbued Heart, you deal less DPS. The Imbued Heart is a bigger DPS increase, while being substantially cheaper. I think I also need to mention, if you're using Preserve with the Imbued Heart, your magic level will never drop below 105. You can always use the Imbued Heart again before it goes down even further. You're always going to deal more DPS compared to Ancestral unboosted. For the hell of it, let's say you're even boosting your magic level with a magic potion and the Ancestral, you're still going to deal more DPS with the Imbued Heart all around. So it's big, it makes a big difference. Of course, you should do your own calculations if you're looking for a specific instance so you can know 100% if it's going to be better. It just turned out that way for me in this scenario. Not to repeat myself too much, but yeah, offensively, it's a very good pick for a lot of bosses with magic. As I mentioned earlier though, you can use it defensively too, you don't have to be using magic to use it. So really any boss that deals magic damage, you can also bring it as just a way to save some health, be a little bit tankier whenever you're running something. Although at this point it gets a little bit less clear as to what's better, an extra brew or the Imbued Heart. which is going to give you more health in the long run of your trip. There's just less opportunity for it in this regard, I would say. I need to remind you guys, though, that this thing is a boost, okay? That kind of leads me into my next point that I'm going to make. So even if you don't take it with you, you can just pre-pot at the bank and still have the benefits, at least for the start of whatever trip you're doing. That can be used for anything. If you're PvPing, if you're going into a raid, anything, you can just pre-pot with it. I think that just further increases how useful this thing is. It's always nice to pre-pot whenever you're doing something hard or challenging. Any extra bonus you can squeeze into your character is super useful. I feel like I need to mention the big three here. Chambers of Zarek, Theater of Blood, the Inferno. With Chambers of Zarek, you can overload. You can pre-pot with it if you have a room that needs magic right away. With the Inferno and Theater of Blood, I don't really have experience in those, but talking to people online say you really just want to pre-pot with them, you don't actually bring them in. That might be up for debate with some people, but that's just the consensus that I found when I was asking about it. Beyond all that, I can think of one more reason to have one. Whenever you boost your magic level, you can actually use spells that are higher than what your magic level is. I want to say I did that for the Desert Diary when you need to ice barrage something in the desert. I just sipped a magic potion. So really you can just do it even more with an Imbued Heart. You can reach a higher level. There it is. That's the Imbued Heart. Hopefully you guys understand a little bit better of why you might want to use it or why it's so expensive. I'd say if you have a high bank value, this is something you probably hold on to. It's not something you sell back and forth a lot. There's a lot of situations where it's going to be useful. I will say if your total bank value is on the lower side, it might not be something you always want to have in there. Just make sure you're going to be on a grind where you're using a trident a lot or, a different powered staff that's going to benefit very heavily from that. That is going to do it for this episode, guys. Thank you for making it this far. If you like the video, like it. If you want to subscribe, it would help me out a lot. I would appreciate it. I want to say thank you very much to my past and present patrons. Love you guys extra hard, if you know what I mean. But if anyone at all has a question about this video or just RuneScape in general, feel free to ask me. I like talking about the game. Especially if you've thought of something that I didn't think to talk about in the episode here. But I hope you guys have a good one, and I will see you next time.